All right, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Thank you, everyone. A few minutes late start here, so let's get going. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. First, we need the approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Boyles, seconded by Councillor Turner. All those in favor signify saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have emergency resolutions. Brian just came around with a tenders received for the administration building. If we're in agreement this evening, we would like to, Brian asked if we could please add this to the agenda. Is it agreed? Agreed. Great. We'll add this in as emergency resolution in as 8.3 administration building tender. Any other emergency resolutions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along. Any errors, omissions, corrections to the minutes of June 16th, 2025? Go ahead, Warden Parker.
Under our discussion on new microphones in council chambers, as it comes down near the bottom, and if I see if I can see it here, there's a motion that says moved by Councillor Turner and seconded by Councillor Turner. I didn't know if he had that much power. I don't know who did second it, but just good to have it correct. That's the only thing.
Okay, make that correction. Any other errors, omissions, or corrections? All right, seeing none, with that correction, we'll consider the minutes approved. Next, we have correspondence. We have a thank you from Tatamagouche Regional Academy for the graduation bursary. And we also have a letter from DNR regarding our letter about the coyote population. Comments, questions on the correspondence? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along to reports. First report this evening is communications report for the month of June. Any questions or comments? Questions or comments on the communications report? Okay, move along. Recreation report for the month of June. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Warden's report. Go ahead, Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could either the Deputy Warden or the Warden fill us in, council in regards to your meeting with the Deputy Minister of Natural Resources? It says here that you've met, but there's no details on what was discussed. So could you share that with us, please?
Sure. Shortly after our meeting in River John, I believe it was on Thursday evening, to do with the uranium exploration. Now, this was one day before word came out that there was no interested parties. And so we were called down to be there on Tuesday if possible, so we were there. Had a good meeting for probably, close to an hour?
Plus.
Yeah, hour plus. And I guess they were trying to convince us, not that we had made any decision one way or the other on uranium exploration of this council, only that we needed more information, but I think they were kind of trying to convince us of the benefits and the lack of danger of uranium. And oops, sorry. Thank you. But no, it was a good meeting, and but it kind of, things died down, of course, the next day when there was no interest shown. But they even expressed a willingness. Wait, now I should say who else was there. There was people from Hants West. Yeah, Hants West. Is it Warden or Mayor? I can't remember. Warden?
Mayor.
Mayor, okay, the mayor of Hants West, and I think CAO. Now, Annapolis was invited as well because that's where the other site was. But no, they were very good, explained it all through. And what's the super deputy? He was there for a while. Paul LaFleche. He was there for a while, and when he sensed that we were being civil to each other, then he left. He seems like the overseer. But no, it was a good meeting on just trying to convince us as why they were, bound determined to move ahead with this. And it may still move ahead. People aren't convinced it's dead. It's just dead for now. But that's what that meeting was about.
Can I start?
Yes.
You also have here that you had a police advisory board meeting with special guests.
Yeah, perhaps some other people here can tune in on that one because I'm trying to think of what was the name of the group that was with us that night.
Emergency response team.
Emergency response team for the RCMP, and this is provincial. And they were very, just to hear them talk, very skilled at what they do. It sounded like something you'd see on a TV show of how quickly they move in. And if there's any incident, even that night later, there was an incident around Stewart Street somewhere in New Glasgow. Somebody was on the loose that had done something bad or wrong, or they thought he had. And so they went from here to that. And but they can get people to an incident very, very quickly. And we do have a lot of incidents happening in our province from time to time, and they need extra help. The police forces, local police forces, whether it be the RCMP or town police. And I think it impressed me, and if anybody else who was here that night wants to say anything.
It really impressed me. It was incredible. They were showing just telling us what the emergency response team did, and they're highly trained, capable individuals. It's like 3 years of training before they're even able to go into the field. And when they're not working, they're training. And it's a full-time kind of job. Like, I think Councillor Bailey had asked, like, when do you get vacation? They're like, we book it a year out. So what they do is incredible, and they're very behind the scenes kind of thing, but yet very trained and capable.
And I asked them if they played any role when the little children were lost up in Lansdowne Station. They were there, and they're in a hurry. He said one of them said that night they'd never seen so much up front, so many people there in such a hurry. He said usually when we get a call about little ones missing, well, they'll probably, by the time we get there, they probably found them. They were in that building or down here or something. But he said something sort of twigged in them that this one might not be that easy. And, they had a helicopter, I think it was at the time, searching for the young fellow that drowned down Eden Lake, was it? I think. And so they were able to divert that helicopter very quickly to Lansdowne Station. And, I didn't know such a thing existed in this province, but and they're always they talked about ways to improve what they're doing. They're always looking at improving. So it was excellent.
So who has the authority to engage them? Where does that come from? Do local police, do RCMP?
You want to address that one, Brian?
Who calls them out?
The district commander would issue the requests through, I think it goes through the risk assessment person that's on 24/7 in the province. So he would escalate the call to them, and then depending on the nature of the call, they will come. And it's generally incidents that involve threat to life.
Yeah. Is it regional or is it county? Is it?
No, it's provincial. So they're based in Halifax. It's a 18-member team. There's one in Nova Scotia, one in New Brunswick. So their backup is New Brunswick, and then Ottawa would be their next default that would come in. So they move them by plane, they move them however they need to, but each one of these officers is equipped with a vehicle, so when the call comes in, they leave, if they're not at the office, they leave directly from home. So they're...
He said he could be out of the house in 5 minutes.
Yeah, they're basically mobile within 5-10 minutes of a call coming in.
Okay, thank you.
It's incredible, yeah. Okay, you want to continue, Warden Parker?
No, I had a different subject.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you have any other questions, I'll take them first. But I just wanted to mention, at different times here we have a flag raising, and Adam helps me out, make sure it goes upright, and upside right anyway. And I was really impressed with the last, and that flag's still flying out there. I think it was called I don't know, it was Disability Pride or Pride Disability flag. One of whatever word comes first, but there was about probably 15 to 20 people here that day. We're used to having maybe 3, 4, 5. And so they had speeches ready to make. And my golly, there was about 6 speeches, and the last 2 in particular were just unreal. These are people with learning disabilities, and they readily admit that that's what it's about. You know, I've had a learning disability since the time I was a kid, you know, and but talked about the challenges and talked about how they're facing those challenges and the difficulties, and they have a, I forget the name of it, but a provincial body or organization now. You don't remember that one, do you, Adam? People First, I think? Yeah. And so that's a provincial, and some of these young people, I'll call them young, they were probably anywhere from maybe 20 to 50 even, but some of them are in executive positions with that provincial organization, and one fellow really impressed me at the end. Ivan Willis was his name, and so clear-spoken and so detailed in what he was talking about. You wouldn't know that those people had learned. I said to them at the end, I said, you fellows could sit around our council table. They're that well-spoken, you know. So I think it just wakes me up, and all of us, I hope, up a little bit. When you hear that somebody has a learning disability, you don't automatically assume things, because a lot of those assumptions, I guess, would be wrong in that case. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Might Rain have something?
Yes, go ahead, Deputy Warden Murray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This past Friday night, I filled in for the warden for the opening on the race on the river in Glasgow, and it's their 22nd annual race, and there was 32 entries of boats this year. So, and in the past 22 years, they raised a little bit over $2 million that goes directly back to cancer patients in hospitals and prostate cancer organization, and they have a bunch of companies that put in money up front, and every cent that they make goes back into that. There's none goes towards advertising or the events at all. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the organizers. It's unreal how that was organized. So thank you.
And the third body that gets money from that is Special Olympics.
Yep.
They get it along with the cancer patients and stuff.
All right, if nothing else, thank you for the updates. And we'll move along. We'll have this month's internet report. I'd just like to note, as Councillor for District 3, the uptake in Caribou, Bray Shore has been incredible. So District 3 is, I guess, all hooked up. Okay, Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A number of months ago, we had a conversation here regarding cell service and how we were potentially going to be able to launch cell service in a relatively short period of time. And I'm just looking for an update on where we are on cell coverage. Thank you.
Or provincial.
I believe the areas that the towers that are going to be co-located on are listed still under construction for fiber being run. So once the fiber's to those sites, and the provider will light up their equipment.
So we have an agreement with the provider on cell service then?
We have a co-location agreement signed with a provider.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair?
I'm just going to let
You go
Rihanna
ahead,
respond
yeah.
to that. Go ahead.
I can just comment on that. There was actually, Rogers was out recently at one of the towers, and they were starting to get ready to mount equipment. I want to say it was East River, because the current contracts we have for co-location are East River and Blue Mountain. And we have actually already started to receive the revenues from that agreement as well.
Great news. Go ahead, Warden Parker.
I just wanted to remind everybody that the cell service is something from day one we spoke about, along with the internet. But the internet we are providing, you know, MOPC is providing itself, but the cell service we're not. The cell service is a provincial initiative, and they they were given the job of finding towers, and they couldn't find towers, then to build them. So they chose 2 of our towers. That's the only role we're playing, I believe, is that we're supplying the towers. We're getting paid for money, like Rhiannon said, but the whole initiative of when it's going to happen and what's going to happen is really totally in Roger's hand, which is from the province.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where we were in our participation in this,
Yeah.
that's all. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on the internet report for the month of June? Okay, we'll move along. Next, we have tax receivable report. As you're aware, the deadline was in June to have the first interim tax bill paid. I believe it was the 24th of June, 23rd, something like that. And the next ones will be coming out probably the end of August.
Excuse me,
Middle of August for due the 15th of October. So we're halfway through that. Any questions or comments on the tax receivable report? All right, seeing none, we'll move along. And next we have the deed transfer tax report. As you can see, we had a stellar month. It's the summertime, and it's actually up from the time of COVID, so we're doing really well, I guess, for the deed transfer tax for the month of June. Any more questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move along. All right, now we're going to move along to reports requiring a motion. First, we have accounts paid for the month of June 2025. Can I have a motion, please? Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Wadden and seconded by Councillor McDonald. I'll now open the floor up to any questions or comments on the accounts paid. We're a quiet bunch tonight. Any questions or comments on the accounts paid for the month of June? All right, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have 8.2, Internet accounts paid for the month of June 2025. Can I have a motion on the floor, please?
So moved.
Moved by Warden Parker. I'll second. Moved by Councillor Turner, or seconded by Councillor Turner. Any questions or comments on the Internet accounts paid? Go ahead, Councillor Thompson.
Just going through, I got a question on retail fiber installations. There's about 3 or 4 different places where we charged out. And the total for the month, as far as I can see, is around $75,000 in retail. I'm just curious, installations, how many retail installations would that be? And what would that charge be for? What, does it go right to the home, inside the home, everything? Does it pay for everything? And how many, I guess the other thing is how many homes get hooked up for $75,000?
So I can answer that. The retail installations refer to our subcontractors that are completing the piece of Can Connect specifically runs all of our fiber drop cables from the main lines on the road into the homes. They also participate in installation support when there's periods that have more demand than our on-site technicians can meet. So they will meet surge control at that time. And we also have an arrangement with TNC is the other provider that you would see that. They are participating in doing a piece of that for their customers that they onboard. So we pay a small amount to them per fiber installation to make up for the work they're doing that would otherwise be done on our part, but results in a one-time visit or streamlined experience for the customer. So on average, when it comes to TNC, that's a significantly smaller amount, somewhere around $50. And when it comes to Blue Nose or Can Connect, which is the same company, the average retail installation is about $375 a person. Some people's are over and above that if they are further off the road than the average person. And if they are, that fee is actually charged back to the customer. So in the end, it basically works out to be about $375 per installation. So if we were to divide that number out, that would give you a fair idea. But we definitely have all the backup, and we can certainly give you a specific number for that. But that is a good basis to calculate on.
One more.
Yep, go ahead.
There's, on the second page of that report, there's two payments to Digital Ubiquity Capital Inc. And one's for $112,845, and the other one's for $112,328.23. So my question is, what is an engagement letter, and what is Microsoft Azure? What's the engagement? It says in the description. In the description, it says per engagement letter and Microsoft Azure. What is the engagement letter? Is that the?
Yeah, so that's these. There we go. No, we're good. So the engagement letter is the statement of work. So that includes project management, financial reporting, tracking, activities of that nature. Microsoft Azure, I'm assuming that's the platform where.
Yes, it's and pardon my non-technical experience, but it's basically the secure server where all of our stuff is housed and maintained, and there is an annual subscription and fees that come along with that, and that would be part of that payment would be representing our annual fees for the hosting on this Microsoft Azure server.
Just to follow up to that. So there's two, in the month of June, there was two payments to Digital Ubiquity. Are we to expect them to invoice twice a month, or is this just because, are they getting caught up for a month they missed, or are we gonna pay them like $250,000 every month?
Yeah, so it's broken down by item. So as work is completed on a specific item, there would be a charge for that. So one of the specific items is reporting to the funding partner. So those reports would only be on a quarterly basis. So that charge could be in the month of whatever. They typically are, it's quarterly. So there would be a charge specific for those items. So they're itemized by thing they do. So that's all that is. The invoices come in and they're itemized based on what they are. So
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, not seeing any more lights on, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we'll move on to our addition to the agenda tonight. It was 8.3, the administration building tender. As you can see from our tender, it was, tenders were sent out regarding the renovations here at the administration building. And Ridgemark Construction and Design in DeBert, Nova Scotia came back with, I guess, the best bid at $146,800. So that is the recommendation tonight from staff. Brian, do you want to make some comment on that?
just in terms of the overall project, we had estimated in that would be probably around 200,000. Was kind of the estimate for the work. So good bid pricing on it.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 companies were all, well, 4 of them were relatively close to budget. One was slightly higher. Ridgemark have the low price and the quickest completion time of 10 weeks type thing. So we've checked references in their other work, so they do a lot of work, not necessarily in Pictou County, but they do a lot of work in Colchester County, key clients there, Dalhousie University, the Provincial Health Authority, things like that. So they met all the criteria. They're bondable, so they have a proven track record because they are bondable type thing. So.
Do you want to speak a little bit to the project as well, just so everybody understands what exactly the renovations are?
Yeah, so the renovations are the creation of 5 offices on the second floor. So it's the physical layout of the offices and the upgrading or redistribution of HVAC and things like that to the individual spaces. Type thing. So there's 5 offices and modification of 1 existing office as well. So in essence, we're creating 6 space type things. So.
Okay. And can I ask, just to expand on that, what departments will be using that?
Good question. We have emergency management. We'll probably have 1 or 2. Internet, we'll have 1. So
Whoever needs them.
there's potential that they'll all be used
They'll be
probably within a very short time. But right now we have those designated. Fire inspector will go into 1. We displaced him after the last election, and so we'll put him in 1 for sure. And then there's at least 1 internet and 1 potential emergency management going in there.
Okay. Warden Parker?
I just wanted to remind everybody that this is the office restructuring. There is an energy retrofit being looked at for this building that isn't part of this. That'll be done at a later date, and that's coming under, well, it's been handled under the Climate Change Advisory Committee, I think, looking at that. Because at some point here, we'd like to get off of oil for sure and into something greener and probably hopefully cheaper too. But the other energy retrofits we're looking at for the building here, partly coming under climate change because, you know, we're recommending to others that they make changes in their buildings and houses and whatnot. So it's only right that we address this building ourselves, even though it's only, what is it, 09, so it's only about a 16-year-old building, but there's still, being on oil is not a good thing for anybody, and there's other retrofits we can make that'll hopefully save us a lot of energy here. I just wanted to be clear on that, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we need a motion on the floor. Anybody want to make a motion? Okay, moved by Councillor Wadden that we accept the bid for the project, for the renovation. We have a seconder, Deputy Warden Murray. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, next we'll move along to the appointment to Valley View Villa Board. Applications received from former Councillor Don Butler and Mr. Howie Cotter. So there's currently a vacancy on the board. As you see in our package, we do have a letter from Don and 1 from Howie as well. Okay, everybody from the board? Go ahead.
Move that we appoint Howie Carter to the board.
Okay. We have a seconder for that? Okay, moved and seconded. Anyone want to speak? Go ahead, Councillor McDonald. Okay.
Can we do it that way? I think we can nominate somebody else.
It's not a motion, it's more of a nomination. So, is that correct? Am I doing that correct?
Yeah, it's a nomination to the board. Yeah, so you would have to pick which one, so you can do it by ballot. I think
Ballot by ballot? We'll do it by ballot then?
that would be here.
So be fair, okay? Is that, I just want to make sure this is done right. Absolutely, yeah. Well, let Sue Ann get ready, and then I'll let you go ahead, Counselor Thompson, you can speak because you made the nomination, and then I'll let Joe McDonald, Counselor McDonald speak because he made the other nomination, then I'll open the floor up, okay? Go ahead. Yo, do you want to?
Yeah, just want to know if both these applicants were in on time. Like, I mean, there was a time limit for these applicants to get in. Were they both on time?
I don't, who would know?
They were in prior to the agenda, so.
No, but there was a time limit on when you had to put in for them. And that's, I'm wondering if they're both on time. If not, then whoever the other person would be unfairly.
Just bear with us a second here till we find the deadline, and then we can check the application dates. Okay,
The deadline was for applications.
okay. So the date was July the 3rd?
Yeah, so the other one wasn't until July 10th.
So former Counselor Don Butler was June 18th, and the other gentleman, Howie Cotter, was the 7th, 10, so that would be July the 10th. So it was a late application.
I want to speak to this.
Okay. Go ahead, Counselor Thompson.
So we're putting a $100 million facility in the heart of Plymouth, and we need representation from Plymouth at this particular time. It's very important that we have, and Mr. Cotter is a former director at Sobeys. He worked in national IT. He's got decision-making skills, and he's the president of the local fire department. And now's the time to have local representation on this board. We're citing a mini hospital here, and the residents have to have a voice in that. So
Okay.
I think we should accept both and vote.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor Thompson. Counselor McDonald?
Like we said many times before, other committees and that stuff, that it takes time to get up to snuff with everything, and we're venturing into a $120 million home here, and Dawn's only 6 months behind on this stuff, and the other applicants had never had anything to do with the Valley View Villa, and I think Dawn would be the better thing to keep things going faster. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor McDonald. Before I get to you, Counselor Boyles, is there anybody that wants to speak before we circle back to Counselor Boyles? Go ahead, Borden Parker.
Like Joe said, I think Don is was 8 years a counselor here and on that committee for, quite a long period of time. And I don't know Mr. Cotter, I got nothing against him, but I don't feel that when we're picking people to be on a place that's really for the whole county, for the whole rural county anyway, the new Valley View Villa, that whether they live in Plymouth or they live in Caribou or wherever, I think this is for the whole county. I don't think we necessarily have to have a citizen representative from that particular area. I don't agree with that reasoning. Thank you.
Okay. Counselor Dewar.
Well, they got a citizen from the community, that's where their councillor's from. He's one street down the hill, so I guess that would look after it. And I'm amazed how a $55 million construction got to be $100 million and now $120 million. And if it's just gonna be run away like that, but I think that with the experience Don had, and that's 8 years, and he was the secretary there and did a wonderful job, and I was surprised he even bothered to put in for it again after all that we went through, but anyway, I'll be supporting Don.
Okay. Anyone else? Counselor Boyles.
Yeah, we put a date on this stuff. We put it out there, tell people when they're supposed to come, and if they want to put in for it, they have the date like anybody else has. They miss the date, they miss their turn. As far as I'm concerned, there's no vote needed. I mean, it would be, Don would have to be the person because he was in on time and the other person wasn't. And if we're gonna start doing this, don't forget, the next time it happens, I'll be all over you, because if you're gonna do it for one, you're doing it for others.
So Brian, can you clarify? Is the applicant, Howie Cotter, is he eligible if he's late? Was there anything stated that late applicants will not be reviewed? I just want to make sure this is done properly.
I don't know if that was in the ad, but there was a deadline, I guess.
There was a deadline.
It just says the deadline to apply is by July 3rd. It doesn't say late applicants won't be accepted, but deadline's deadline.
A deadline's a deadline. Okay. So if we're going by the deadline, we only have one applicant, and Mr. Cotter would not be eligible. Am I correct in saying that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think if we're going to set a precedent, we have to have a cutoff line, but. All right. Is there anybody else that wants to speak to that deadline? Deputy Warden, did you want to speak?
I just so move that we appoint Don Butler to the Valley View Rural Board.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor. It has been, our application deadline again was July the 3rd. And there was one application in that deadline. There was one late application. So due to that late application, Deputy Warden Murray has made the motion that we appoint former Councillor, Don Butler, and it was seconded by Councillor Dewar. Okay, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, next we're moving on to some municipal service grants. It was a busy spring with all our councillors out in our districts doing our municipal meetings. We're going to start off with municipal service grants for District 2. The first is the Celtic Chorus Women's Choir, $1,000 for purchase of sheet music and membership into Choral Federation. Little Harbor Community Center, amount of $16,000 for the extension of the community center. It must be a build-on. And Little Harbor Presbyterian Church in the amount of $2,000 for restoration to the church bells, for a total of $19,000. Moved by, yep, moved by Counselor Wadden. We have a seconder, seconded by Counselor Bailey. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have District 4, Bellevue and Extension Cemetery Association in the amount of $4,500 for maintenance. Campbell Point Cemetery, $2,000 for maintenance. Melville Seafoam Community Hall, $3,800 for purchase of a storage building. Mountain Road Cemetery, $1,500 for maintenance. River John Area Historical Society, $2,250 for window, paint, and exterior repair. River John Community Action Society, $4,070, and this is for gravel for Johnson Cemetery, maintenance to docks, and community watch signs. Excuse me. River John and District Lions Club, $2,800 for tables and chairs for the club. River John and Area Recreation, $5,500 for activities and supplies. Royal Canadian Legion Branch, 108, $3,500 for maintenance. Salem United Church Cemeteries, and that's $2,500, I assume, for maintenance, or West Branch Hall Streetlight, $40, and the Salem United Church Streetlight, for both are $40, and that is the yearly cost, for a grand total of $32,500. Moved by Counselor Bailey, seconded by Counselor Wadden. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, next we're over to District 8. We have 4 here. The first is Abercrombie Cemetery Company in the amount of $8,000 for maintenance and cemetery improvements. This next is Abercrombie Community Center, $5,997 for maintenance of the property. Alma Cemetery, $4,775 for groundskeeping and headstone repair, and Mount William Cemetery, $5,485 for maintenance and gate repair, for a grand total of $24,257. Moved by Counselor Turner, seconded by Counselor Bailey. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. So next we have the application for Abercrombie Community Center for the MOPC Community Hall Internet Program. We have the application in our package here. Yes, Councillor Turner, do you want to speak on that?
As you'll see in the information that was sent out to us, it had asked for the rationale for putting fiber in at the Abercrombie Community Center. I think it's a great opportunity, if we have fiber there, for it to be a more user-friendly for corporate and community meetings. So it's a great, which will create a better source of revenue, which will help the community center thrive. Second thing I had put down there, installation of closed-circuit TV to monitor activities in and around the community center. So we could, it's a good tool for security as well. So the people that are involved on the board can monitor things from their house. And that goes along with the administration as well. Ability to control temperature, lighting from a remote location, so people can look after the administration. If we have fiber in there and we get the right things in there to look after that. And then the other thing that, and this came to me just from sitting in Tim Hortons, that people go to Tim Hortons and sit out in the parking lot and access internet at Tim Hortons because they don't have it at home. Some people can't afford this, so they want to go sit in the parking lot in Abercrombie Community Center and access the Wi-Fi. I think that'd be a good thing, and we'd be able to look and make sure it's secure. So those are some of the reasons I had put together to ask for fiber at the Abercrombie Community Center.
Do you want to make that a motion?
And I'll move that it be accepted
Okay.
as presented.
We have a seconder? seconded by Counselor Thompson. Go ahead, Warden Parker.
Are there for-profit businesses at the Abercrombie Community Center?
Not right now.
Because that's a concern we had with the
Yep.
one in River John. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Seeing no more questions or comments, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. I don't believe there's any deferred business this evening, nor motions of reconsideration. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
I'd like to call the proper service meeting to order. First, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're in the Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Next is approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Boyles. Second by Deputy Warden Murray. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Counted by nay. Motion carried. Emergency resolutions. Emergency resolutions? Last time. Any emergency resolutions? See none, we'll move on. Is there any errors, omissions, or corrections to the minutes of June 16, 2025? Any errors or omissions or corrections? Any errors or omissions, corrections? Seeing none, we'll consider those minutes approved. Next, reports not requiring a motion. Director of Public Works and Development. Any questions? Councillor Watt.
Logan, do you have an update on the Chance Harbor subdivision? Is there things moving on that?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. We did have an update. Last week, we sent the revised, sent our revisions back to the developer, and I spoke with them on the phone, and they were reviewing on the servicing agreement and going to get back to us. They thought either last week or sometime this week.
Okay.
So we're waiting to hear back from them now, but I think we're moving in the right direction. So.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Also, another question, if I could, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Just on streetlights, I know, I'm not sure if this is the right spot to bring it up, but do we have a reason for why there's such a delay in getting the streetlights up? I've had 3 for Little Harbor Road now for close to a year. I can understand some delays, but this is really taking a long time to get them done.
We are finding some delays with our contractor that we use, but they're usually pretty prompt. So I'll reach back out to them and see how quickly we can get some of these taken care of. Thank you.
Okay. Deputy Warden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just have a question, Logan, that's not in the report. It come off a couple of months ago about the pumping station in Scotsman. Is that file closed, and did we receive payment from that?
Thank you for the question, through you, Mr. Chair. We were still waiting to hear back from our insurance on that file. We had sent our documentation off to them, so it's been fixed. It's fully repaired and functional, but we had sent all of our receipts off and haven't heard back yet.
Yeah, I realize it was fixed, but we should be getting paid for it through the insurance company. I think it's dragging on over a year now, likely, is it? I think maybe quite a bit more. Just, I think we should have a follow-up to make sure we get our money for it.
Okay. Warden Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Same one I always ask on, I guess, only you notice this time that if they don't hear anything, you're going to be taken off the list here, so we won't be able to speak about it anymore. But the Green Hill Estates subdivision, it just seems to have been going on too long. You know, it says requested an update from the developer. Last time when we met, we just seemed to be right on the edge of having this put away. Now it says on their intentions for subdivision phasing construction, awaiting their response. It seems that they don't want to sign the development agreement, and we require it to be signed in order to move ahead. So what is that, just the end of the project then, or what happens next? It's not going to be on our screen anymore.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And again, through you, Mr. Chair, we have been waiting to hear back from them on signing that servicing agreement. I finally heard from their surveyor today. The developer surveyor asked to call me today, and it would seem as though they plan to repeal their subdivision application and try to apply for something altogether different. So that's a change since this report was generated. But it appears to be that they are not willing to sign the servicing agreement and pay for the installation of the.
It's unfortunate. There was gonna be, I think, upwards to 100 homes built on the side of Green Hill there, but they do, I realize that, you know, developers, companies have to live by, you know, whatever rules we put in, otherwise there's no sense having any rules. But they seem to think they're treated unfairly because of how somebody else got treated, but our rules are our rules, I understand that. But it is unfortunate that we can't come, you know, that they can't understand, I guess. But when I see it saying it's gonna be taken off of the screen here, then, you know, it makes me think that that's the end of it. But there is no more movement unless they want to sign that development agreement, isn't it?
And we can keep it on the list, especially after today's update that we got, but it would be in some sort of a different form.
Yeah.
Just because they're not, you know, we do have our rules, and we weren't treating them any differently than we treat.
No, I know,
anybody
they
else,
think
so.
they have, but I mean, I agree with you, I don't think we have. But, you know, it's unfortunate that it's lingered on here this long and that we can't come up with a solution to it, you know.
And
Ron?
just on that agreement was reviewed by their solicitor. And changes were made to accommodate their solicitor. So they've had legal advice on it. There was a firm understanding of what needed to happen.
And we are prepared to work with them. We have been prepared to work with them, and it seems as though their own business case is changing as well, from the conversation that I had today.
Okay, I have one more question too, Mr. Chair, if I might.
Go ahead, yes?
On the summer road maintenance, so I'm aware of some of the problems that have been taking place on Stanwood here in Lions Brook and Barkley Ridge. I don't know if they've all been fixed at this point or not, but it mentions in there about reviewing those standards and, you know, see if we can't improve them or whatever. What's going to take place there? You know, it mentions about, you know, the July 15th date or whatever, and then we're gonna be reviewing the summer standards. So what do you anticipate changes, if they're gonna be reviewing them? Are you anticipating any changes in those standards, or?
I think yes, thank you again through you, Mr. Chair. I do think that we're looking to put together firmer guidelines so that both our residents and our councillors can have a better understanding of how and when work will be taking place, and make sure that it's acceptable for everybody involved, and conditions around any remedial work that needs to be done and any ongoing work that needs to be done. So we'll be providing an update within the next month on what
I think
recommendations
that would
we
be a
have.
good idea, because councillors are taking the brunt of it sometimes when work isn't being done when it was said it was gonna be done. And the summer one in particular seems to circle around grading and chloride. And one getting done and then the other not getting done, then being too late to put the chloride on in the spell in between. But I think we need to have very defined timelines. And I know there's problems with putting it on if it's too dry, and you know, various things that it doesn't work as good. But that seems to be on our gravel roads, which most of ours are. That seems to be the biggest problem. Yes, there's some, I need this fix this hole or this whatever, but a lot of it circles around that. So I think if we can improve those timelines, when it's going to happen, and the two have to happen fairly close together, and it has to be inspected, I think, to make sure that the work we're paying for is actually being done. In some cases, the grading is just a very surface grading that's all gone in a week. So I think there are things that we can do a better job on. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on to Development Officer's report. No questions? Okay, we'll move on to the emergency service report. Counselor McKeel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My question is for Evan, through you. I was just, as you see, there's a lot of fires in District 3. And I received a few phone calls of people worried about the amount of fires that happened in such a short time. I don't know if you could speak on that at all, but there was some concern that it seemed like, you know, for a few weeks there was another house fire every few days.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be happy to speak to those. So there was certainly an influx in structure fires in Caribou the last month. Our fire inspector and myself went out to a few of these locations. The large industrial building that was burnt down, we were out there as well. Of the 3 that we went and looked at, all 3 of them had very easily explained causes, causes that were very apparent when we were on the site. And in 2 of the cases, the fire marshal investigated and found the same thing. So there is no connection. It doesn't look like there's any nefarious activity taking place. It just seems like really tough, terrible luck for District 3 this month.
Oh, it was terrible. I feel so bad for the families. No, people were just a little concerned that
Yeah, I get that.
there was so many fires, and, you know, we just wanted to make sure that
Definitely a spike on the graph.
there's
in data
definitely
there,
a spike. Yes, it seemed that we were hearing sirens every couple days there for a little bit. So thank you for your clarification, Evan. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on to the fire inspection report. Next is the building officials report. Counselor Dorr.
I would think the rest of you's got a complaint from a Marilyn Ebshree. So who looks after those kind of things? Is that Brian, or you look after that? So
Eventually it makes its way there.
okay, I just didn't know if everybody got it or I was the only one that got it, and I just wanted to bring it up, okay? And I don't know enough about it other than what I read, okay? But I just thought, well, what I really wanted to know is if everybody got it, so anyway, that's good. Okay, thank you.
It's being reviewed by staff, okay?
Okay, that's great.
Okay, Warden Barker. Okay, next we'll move on to the bylaw officers' report. Any questions? No questions. Okay, next is concerns regarding spiked drinks at a local festival and events. Counselor Boyles, what's your outcome here? What did you want? Was it a
Well,
resolution?
I'm hoping that maybe, I don't know, I'd bring to Compton, there's 2 reports I got, plus talking just through the grapevine at the hospital, that I guess this is quite a normal thing, that people are getting their drinks, could be any of our daughters or whatever, and it's just something now, it's not the big city anymore, it's little Pictou County that it's happening in. So I was just thinking maybe for us, you know, as our part, if we could turn around and maybe put some kind of a poster together that we could give out to these people that's having like these Pictou World Fair, the River John Days, the different ones in the municipality, that they could put on at the entrance or something, saying, you know, just don't leave your drinks alone, and you should cover your drinks. I mean, just nobody wants to see this happen to anybody, and that's. When I heard about it, I figured, you know, I'd take it to council and see if there's anything they would think we could do to help out.
Okay, just on that, Counselor Boyles, next time, send an email outlining what you want. Like, we had no information on this report, so from now on, moving forward, we have to have information before we can do something like this, right? So we came up with that since a while ago, and so. Counselor McKeel.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, this isn't a new problem. This problem has been around a long time. And I think my generation for sure, it's parenting, it's, you know, your friends, you're always, you know, you got to look out for your drink, whether they're alcoholic or not. It doesn't matter. So I think it's important for a few reasons. and might sound scary or out of proportion, but it's truly not. Nova Scotia has the highest rates of human trafficking in all of Canada. And it's absolutely terrifying, how quick something can happen. It doesn't matter male, female, it doesn't matter age, if they're over 18 or under 18. So it's very important that we watch our drinks. And like I said, it could be a bottle of water or it could be an alcoholic beverage at an event. And the second thing is that I don't know, unfortunately, I don't know if we can, usually at these events, the volunteers are run off their feet, serving drinks or their security and stuff, and it's hard to catch it. So I think we just have to remind people to be very, very diligent with that. I know that it was always a concern. I think a lot of females my age would definitely have, at a younger age, would have that fear put into you. And there's been lots of companies that have come up with some really cool inventions, whether it's certain straws or whether it's, I've even seen coverings for drinks that you can take with you places. But there is gadgets out there that if you want to spend a little bit of money, not a lot, to protect yourself, and just make sure that you're aware of your surroundings at all times. So that would be my 2 cents on that. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Seeing none. I don't know if staff has to give out to make up things to give out to patrons that go to these functions, right? Because you need a lot of papers to hand out and things like that. Oh, one at the gate? So my kid's that age, and I tell them they look after her friends, they look after themselves, but it does happen. You set your drink down, you expect to come back, and then there's nothing happened to them, but there's always these things that happen, so. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. This is an important topic, but I think the information already exists. If you check with the police department's RCMP would have information on it they could hand out. The Women's Center, I know they've done campaigns on this. This stuff already exists. So I wouldn't go reinventing a poster or a Facebook post. I think you can, if you reach out to the Women's Center or the RCMP, they would have information on what to do and all that good stuff.
Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Councillor Boyles there. I think it would be a good idea to put up some posters when people are walking into these places. Just one big poster explaining what the problem is and be aware. I don't think it's much to it, to be honest with you.
So do we just do the county, or do we do all the festivals that are?
I think you could do the festivals that are in the area. Would make sense.
I don't think that we should step into other territories, so it's just the ones that would be in the county. It'd be up to the other towns to.
Well, most of them are in towns, I think. They're in Pictou, they're in Westville.
River John has one this week, and we had one. Thornton
Well,
has
that's
one.
that's true, yeah.
So.
I just think it's a good idea. I mean, if it prevents somebody from getting drugged, unwillingly, like you say, my teenagers are grown up now, but it's a concern when your kids are that age.
Sue Ann?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I was just going to say, Adam and I could work together and do some social media campaigning around it as well, have that, especially in the summer months and festival times, but we could check out what other resources are available. Maybe posters are already available that we could make people aware of.
Yeah. So I'm on the committee for East Pictorial Fair, and I'll bring it up at our next meeting, so. And if there's something available, then if you don't mind passing it on. Like you said, no sense of reinventing the wheel. If there's something out there, then we can use that, so. Warden Parker, you up?
Strikes. I think it's a low-cost item, and if we can do some work that, you know, it may be available now, but if it's extra, you know, not everybody sees it in this place or that place, and just another reminder is all it is, to be extra vigilant. And most young people are quite aware from what they're taught in school and what's out there and everything, but I don't see why not to do something when it's a fairly low-cost item. If we help even one person, it's probably worth it.
Councillor McKeel.
Can I just add a caveat to that? It's not just young people, and it's not just women. It's anybody that somebody wants to hurt. So I know in our heads that we think it's young women around a certain age who are just starting to drink, but it's not. It can be a 10-year-old at a park that somebody wants to put some, it's people's bad intentions is what it is. It can be somebody my age, an old girl like me. So, I mean, it's not just, I think we have to stop the idea of thinking that it's a certain small little demographic. It's bigger than that. Thank you.
So I guess we'll ask staff if they could look into it, see if there's something there, and then get back to us. Councillor Walls.
Yeah, and something that I don't know, I never ever knew until I started looking in to see what, you know, what happened and what went on and how bad it is that the person, the two that happened to was young. Their doctor told them to drink lots of fluid, get rest, get it out of your system. If you were, as Darla says, they turned around and an older person, he said, I would have put you right in the hospital because you're very prone to a stroke. So you guys got to realize that it could be somebody's life too you're dealing with putting this stuff in their drinks.
Okay. Anybody further? Seeing none, move on to business or items requiring action. Under that, there's item 8.2, it's the CBCL Blue Acres Sidewalk Lighting Report, so that was missed on the agenda. So that'll be added. First is 8.1, sanitary sewer lateral charges. Logan, would you want to run us through that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. We were asked a little while ago to look at sewer charges and whether or not the current charges of $2,500 per connection still make sense, especially as costs continue to rise. Whether or not costs for sewer laterals should be borne more greatly by the applicants, the property owners themselves, or by the municipality at large. So in reviewing the differences between different types of connections, different situations around different connections, we put together this list of recommended possible charges that would go with any new sewer connection. Happy to take any questions or comments related to them. Just looking for any guidance from council on how to proceed further.
Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess, Logan, so it's table 1 that you're looking at changing, correct? Or you're wanting consideration on?
That's correct.
I guess my biggest problem is, well, first off, what is the percentage of hookups in sewer areas now? Do you know? Any idea?
I don't have that number right now. We have reasonable
because
update.
They get charged $2,500 right up front, correct? If they needed a pump, would they have to? Would all these charges? Don't get me wrong. I believe everybody should hook up, but my question is, if somebody doesn't hook up, they got to pay the $2,500. But if they needed a pump, they would have to pay for all that up front, or over 3 years. So would that be changing our base price? Because right now we put the pumps in free. Is that correct? Or did that change? It was that way at one time.
I think the intent here is if that we have to go back and put in a new lateral, there would be additional charges. So if you're in the original system, your property has been designed for that pump, right? So you've paid your 2,500, you may not have connected, but you've paid your 2,500 already. You've paid the capital costs, which would have included the pump. Because you're in, if you were to get a pump, you would have got a pump day one for the 2,500. This is if you build a new house, we go back, we put in a lateral, it costs us $8,000 to put in the lateral, plus the cost of the pump. So should that all be borne by the county, or should a larger portion of that be borne by the homeowner? Because it is after the fact. And when we did our show many years ago, the road show to the various communities, when we were doing systems, we said it's $2,500 today if you have the lateral installed, but if you come back after the fact, you'll pay whatever the charge is at that time. We've never adjusted the 2,500.
Yeah.
Right?
It just, it seems to me, and I know I guess if you were putting in a sewer system, it would cost you close to that, but it seems like an awful lot of money coming right up front out of a build of a possible, well, it doesn't matter whether they're young, old, or anywhere's in between, but it seems like a lot of money, especially then they're gonna start paying $375 every year after that. So to me, it seems like a lot of money.
Okay, Councillor Bowles.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering, are we breaking even or making money on this now, or are we losing money?
We are losing money. We're getting 2,500 and it's costing us, same side of the road, it's costing us $1,000 additional. If it's the opposite side of the road, it's costing us $8,000 put in a lateral.
Okay, thank you.
So we are losing money.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Watt.
Just, I think it's time we did look at increasing these costs, because they are going up, and if you have a well and a septic, you're not getting any financial help from the county to put in your own well and septic in an area. So I think that we should be looking at these. If there's going to be additional charges, I really do think we should consider expecting some kind of a cost. I mean, every year we have to have our septic pumped, and that costs us at least $500 a year we're paying for that. So I think if you're running your own well or septic, you're paying for it yourself. So I think there should be these people, if they want the sewer hookup, and it's a good thing to see the infrastructure going in the ground, then I think there should be an additional cost for that.
Councillor Thompson.
I guess it is an awful lot of money. I agree with Councillor Bailey. I think that before we do any of this stuff, because this is going to dissuade development, and we've already, right across the country, we're hearing about development fees and fees for this and fees for that, and there are funding programs out there that may be able to help this situation, that we should explore before we do this, because this is gonna put a pause on a lot of things. There's a housing accelerator fund. I don't know if we tapped into that at all, but that's where we should be getting our money, like, for this. We need to start promoting density, like, 'cause people want to live in communities where they have near services. That's what people want. But if we're asking young families to put up extra money like this, it may put that home ownership right out of touch for them. So I think we should be exploring other ways to offset this cost. I think it's gonna put a awful shutter on development in Pictou County, and that's not what we need right now. We need more homes, not less.
Councillor McKeel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I disagree with Councillor Thompson. I think that this is a bargain deal. I know when we built our home 20 years ago, $2,500 would have been a welcome charge for our septic system, and that was 20 years ago. While we do want to support development, I'm in fully support of all water and sewer in this county. I think that that is a, that is a right to have clean water and a good sewer system for your home. But I feel like we can't bear the cost of, it's one thing to install it as we're going by and doing the project, but it's another thing for us to come back and spend, thousands of dollars to hook somebody up. There has to be some cost sharing there. Whether we, I'm not necessarily saying that we put the whole burden on the homeowner, but, there can, at least at the very minimum, be some cost sharing there between us. I think that there needs to be those that are building in rural Pictou County without services pay a lot more for their well and for their septic than those attaching to services. And I know that, whether it's fair or not, that doesn't really matter, but there needs to be some, this is where they're getting a heck of a deal. And while we encourage development and we want development in these areas, we also have to protect taxpayer money and be responsible. And I think that it's not being very responsible if we're footing the bill for the full bill for that. Thank you.
Warden Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this comes down to fairness between the general taxpayer and the user. We're getting advantage of it. And I know both Wayne and I, in signing checks, have noticed that in some cases it's far above the 8. It would be closer to 15 if there's cross-cutting involved. If you're on the other side of the road from where the main line is, that's where the cost comes in. There's very few companies, although there's a few more than there used to be, I think, that have this cross-cutting equipment. So if you build on the side of the road on the opposite side of where the pipe is, it is a lot more expensive to the county, which means for the general taxpayer, many of you will never have water and sewer. And that's where we notice the real high costs. There'll be a little bit of difference even just on inflation, since the 2,500 came in, you'd be up to 3,500 in a hurry, for the person. That just brings it to a reasonable level for the person that's on the, that has it done at the time that the water and sewer are coming in, or that is on the right side of the road. If you're gonna build on the opposite side from the line, it's a cost to somebody. It's either the general taxpayer or it's the individual, the user. But the $10,000 for the heat pumps or whatever is only in those areas where they have the small diameter pipes, and you have to have the pumping. And I think that was put in, I know, through Scottsburg and up in lower Lines Brook and Durham and stuff years ago. That was the system put in, and so we gave them free pumps because we didn't have any choice. That's the system was there. So if you don't have any choice, they would Brian saying that's different. But we have had some people lately who wanted to have an e-pump for nothing because they wanted to have a bathroom in the basement. And that's your choice. If you want to have a bathroom in the basement, then you pay for the e-pump. But those are on systems that were gravity systems. And so the gravity systems, you don't pay any for the e-pump. So you have to be careful that e-pump's only for the areas that are reserved, as far as I know, by that small pipe. I don't think it's unreasonable what's here, because you have to be fair to both sides. And we're not being fair to the general taxpayer who will say, well, we're just going to leave it at 2,500 forever. I don't think that's fair to the general taxpayer. Thank you.
Councilor Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Councilor Wadden and the other councilors here, McKeel and the warden, that we need to recover our costs. If you live out in the county, you put a sewer system in, you're probably looking at 15 to 20 grand. And every year you got to pump it, or every second, third year, that's $500. I think you need to recover your costs. I would agree with this chart right here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Deputy Warden. Oh, sorry, Counselor Turner?
Go ahead. I won't argue with it. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the base price, that should be $3,500 now? Is that what I'm understanding?
I'm suggesting $2,500, but only in situations when it's a new main going through, a new project. So most people who are connecting today would be the $3,500, so the $2,500 plus the $1,000 for $3,500.
Okay, so if we're putting in a new system at a place that there's none now, and it's within the 200 feet and we need to use pumps, are they still gonna be free or will they be 10 grand?
I think that's part of the question, but I think the intention there is for it to be included because it's the only way they can be serviced.
Okay. So it's just the ones that don't qualify will have to pay for the pumps?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Counselor Turner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I just need some clarity on costing, on if you live on one side of the road, and you're on the same side of the road as the pipe, it costs you less to hook up than if you're on the other side of the road. I think a resident being penalized for being on the opposite side of the road, not gonna fly in my community anyway. How come he only has to pay that and I have to pay this? Simply because you're on the other side of the road. I'd like some clarity on, I understand there's costs, that you have the directional drilling, I understand that. But in terms of public policy, it just doesn't seem right to me. So anyway, if somebody could explain that to me. And the second thing is that I'm in agreement with Councillor Thompson on this position. There's a number of reasons why we put sewer systems in the first place. I think we have to take that into consideration. There's the protection of the environment. I mean, if you're looking at some septic systems, I mean, the environments, septic systems can contaminate the environment. So, you know, we really should be promoting sewer systems in our communities as much as we can. And one of the things that Councillor Thompson talked about is it facilitates economic development. And I think that we have to consider, you know, if we, and Councillor Thompson talked about a density, and that should be a big consideration when we're talking about sewer systems. So we have to go back to the point of where we made the decision to put sewer systems in the first place, and whether or not some of these costs should be borne by the county as a whole. And they're investments. We're building assets here for our community, and they should be looked at as investments. We will, if we build economic development, build houses, we're going to get taxes from it, right? And it's going to help our county in the long run. So I think we have to look at this from 30,000 feet. And we can drill down on some of these things, but that's the position I come from, is that we have to look at it in a holistic manner. So that's my position on this. Thank you.
Okay, Counselor McKeel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a point of clarification here. So we're looking, I guess, through you to Logan, you're looking for changes to be made to this policy. And further to Councillor Turner's point, even if I think it does, unfortunately, you do have to penalize if you choose to build on the other side of the road, because even within a certain field, if you build in certain locations, your septic system's gonna cost more, and that's just a factor that you have to decide where you're choosing to build, just like any other homeowner has to decide. But are we looking for it to be, like, what is the staff recommendation here? Are you recommending for it, I guess that's what I'm looking for, because I think there's, you know, for those of us maybe around the table that want to see a change here, are you saying like it's a 50-50 cost split? Is that what you're recommending? Are you recommending we put the full burden on the homeowner? Is there, like, what is the staff recommendation here?
Thanks. I think the recommendation, first and foremost, is that we do believe that costs need to be increased to help even it out in some way, shape, or form, because currently we're losing money on pretty well every lateral. I think the intention here was to open up for discussion on, I mean, the real recommendation coming into this was to say, okay, well, if you have these additional situations, you should probably be charged the additional charges, but it seems as though there's some discussion now around, you know, the greater virtues of septic systems versus sewer systems and these kinds of things. So I think that's open for discussion, but these would be the costs that would help us equal out what we're paying when we're actually doing these installations.
Yes, I guess the reason why I ask that, sometimes it's just helpful if you know, if you're, because, I mean, I guess you're in the numbers, nitty-gritty numbers every day, and you're seeing, like, what do other municipalities do? Like, what does the county of Colchester do? What does the county of Antigonish do? Is there certain, like, or how do we align with neighboring municipalities within that?
We're very generous currently compared to most neighboring municipalities that I'm familiar with. Some put the entire burden on the homeowners, whether it be towns or some rural municipalities. And part of the reason why we do it the way that we do it is that most of our roads are in provincial roadways. Most of our sewer services are in provincial roadways. So that's why we need to do these directional drilling exercises so often, is because the province won't allow us to do cross-cutting of their roads. Some towns, for example, don't have that issue. They would allow crews to go in and install, or they would put it on the homeowner entirely, or they might say, okay, we'll service the property once and then never again. So that's all to say that we're currently very generous compared to other municipalities that I'm familiar with.
Mr. Chair, if I might, I just find it very hard exactly knowing, I believe myself that change has to be made, but I'm not quite sure what that change is. Is it 50%? Is it putting the full burden? I don't know that, because I don't know exactly. I think I need some more information myself, but I know changes have to be made. I just don't know what the correct answer is.
Okay, Councillor Bailey.
Thank you. We've been covering these costs, and they've changed over the years. I understand that, but we've been covering these for 40 years. Another thing that we've been covering, all the taxpayers in Pictou County, is every time they put a sewer or water project in, everybody pays. And there's people out there that are not going to ever have sewer or water. So we're saying we've got to make this fair, but the other thing is, okay, that's all right if we put sewer in West Branch and everybody in Pictou County pays for it. That, to me, this, the way that we had it before is enticing people to build in our sewer areas, and I think this is going to, you know, yes, I know you could pay $20,000 for your sewer, but you also could pay 10 if you're in the right area, okay? To me, I think we got to help entice people to build in our sewer areas, and at the long run, that helps the environment and it helps the county. And we got to also remember, as these charges went up, everybody's assessment went up over those 40 years also. So they're paying more on both ends, as far as I'm concerned. So to me, I think we should. I have no problem raising the base charge, but I don't think we should be doing all the other.
Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering where the money that I pay on a yearly basis. So we've had sewer probably for at least 25 years in Abercrombie. And if we pay $375 a year, I mean, that comes out close to $10,000. Does that $10,000 go to operate Eric? Is that where that goes? Where has my money gone for $10,000? That's an operational charge.
The operational charge per year.
Okay. Is $375?
We do not make money.
Enough
We break even.
You break
Basically,
even on that?
our
No?
sewer area rate is a break even. but we just allocate a fixed amount, right, of the wages to that, so is it truly break even? Probably not. Yeah,
So do we need a bigger conversation then?
right?
You know, that's my question. So if we're gonna look at this part of the equation, maybe we should look at this part of the equation as well. So have a wholesome discussion on it. So maybe, okay, thank you.
Did you want to speak, Brian?
The only thing I would say, your $2,500, if you look at when we set that 2,500, would have been 2006, I think is when we changed that bylaw. That today, using just straight inflation, is $3,700, $3,753. That's what $2,500 in, right? So that's the inflationary cost of money, right?
Wayne?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My concern is that I think I would like to see the base rate go up to like 6,000 or something, then it's even for everybody, don't matter which side of the road you're on, or 5,000, whatever it is, and then the county will pick up the rest, because, as I say, when people look at this, they're not gonna go for it, that's for sure, I don't think. So if we could come up with a fair base rate, like 2,500 is definitely way too low, yet that could split it and everybody be the same and leave the rest, that would be what I'd like to see.
So I'd like to say something on my behalf. So if you look at this here charge, and if we went to the recommendation or whatever is here, so that'd be $20,500 somebody would have to pay for a new home. If you're building a new home in the county and you're on the opposite side of the road, roughly $20,500, right? With the 2,500, the 10 and the 8, right? Yeah, if you need a pump, I'm saying if you, on the new home? No? No?
How many people?
No, not in, no, we're not talking about the new construction here. We're talking, if you need a pump, let's say the sewer went by 10 years ago, now you're going to hook up on the other side, it's going to cost you the 10,000 for the pump, is it not?
How many of our systems have that small pipe?
It would have to be a pump system.
Yeah, if it's a pump system, it'd be 20,500.
No, because if you're only, it would be the pump is your only alternative, right? So in that case, I think it would be the lateral charge that,
So you would get the pump free, would you?
yeah, I would think, because it's your only option. It's the only option we can serve you with.
So why is the pump on this here report?
I think we've had situations, especially recently, where people are coming and asking for pumps after the fact in different situations.
If you're not in a pump system, if you don't need a pump to serve your home, then you shouldn't get a pump. That's why I should.
Yeah.
Okay, so my point is, let's say if you take that 10,000 out of there, so you're up to 10,500, but that's only getting you to the edge of the right of way. Then the homeowner got to pay from there to their home, which could be 150 feet away, and that could cost you another 8-10 grand, right? Huh? No, I know, that's what it is now. But it is costing the homeowners. I know when I put my sewer in, I paid the 2,500, then I paid another 6,000 to get it hooked up. So I paid 8,500, and I probably could have had a sewer system put in at that time for that. But we want development in the county, right? If you look at the Larry Turner's area, there's brand new buildings going in there, like residential units and things like that, and they look like they're going to expand in back. If we didn't have the sewer in that area, that would never happen in the water. When you look at my place, where like the community that I serve, everybody's homes, like in Thorburn, they're all on top of each other. So if you didn't have a sewer system in there, their sewers were running into the wells. That's what was happening. So we put a sewer system back in the 91, I think, that 91, 92 area. And even though water's not great in Thorburn, it made it a lot better. Same thing in McClellan's Brook. The sewers were running into each other's well water and things like that. So when you're into densely populated areas, you need this. You don't want to stop development. Like if we say it's going to cost you $10,000 or $15,000 for a sewer, and they can get their own sewer put in for that price and not pay the $375 a year, wouldn't you take that? But Department of Environment will not allow you, because if you're within that 200 feet, you have to take the municipality sewer, so. But it could cost the homeowner a lot more. So are we gonna get development, or are we gonna get people looking for other places to build, so? Out further in the county or in the town, so. You know, I don't think that we should charge the whole thing, the base charge, maybe like you said, that hasn't gone up in years, so we should be looking at that, and that'll, if you have new sewer projects going in, the residents know that going in. They don't, but there's a lot of people, and like you say, if you're on one side of the road, it's only gonna be 1,000, on the other side, it could be 8,000. That's a hard sell for some homeowners, right? So I think that we should be looking at this further and coming up with a better solution to the problem. So. What's that? Oh, ordinance? No, I wasn't either. When I started talking, there's nobody, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm certainly not against development in any way. I thought this was going to stop development. I don't think it will. I think it's a matter of, again, balancing, what's fair to the general taxpayer, what's fair to the user. And that's what this really comes down to. And I do tend to agree with the deputy warden that as much as we see the cost for us much higher on the other side of the road, because we got to pay for that cross drilling, maybe the right way to do is not to say you pay this much, you pay that much, but just come up with an overall price, that'll come closer. Doesn't even have to be that we're not losing money, but it has to come closer to break even. And if that is 4,000 or 4,500 or whatever, so everybody has one price. And I think the pump is kind of getting blown out of proportion here, because I don't think we have that much area. Some of that area that was done in 2006, 7, 8 or whatever, had those small lines put in that you required a pump. So we gave everybody a pump for the first 15 years or whatever. But I don't think that's a big deal. Yes, we've had some people looking for the pumps, like I said, because they want special uses for them. But yet they're on a gravity flow system, so they shouldn't be getting a pump at the general taxpayer's expense. I think the real one is to come up with a set price that everybody would pay to hook up. Yes, if you're 50 feet from the edge of the line, you're going to pay a lot less than the guy that's 150, but that's nothing. That's your cost from there. That's, you choose to live 150 feet or 200 feet back versus 50, then you're going to pay more. That's not on us. But I really don't think this is going to be a major decision on whether we get development in certain areas. The development on the side of Green Hill, like Larry said, the original sewer that went on the side of Green Hill 30 years ago, whatever, was done because of sewers running into the next person's well. That's why they went in some of the early cases, but no, I don't think it'll have any effect on development. We're just simply looking to recover costs so that we're not putting that cost onto the general taxpayer, and I think that's fair. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Councillor Wadden.
I actually agree with the warden on that. I think we have to look at this as being a fair charge. And again, I'm not against development either, and I know my district will probably never see water and sewer, and we do have water issues and sewer issues down home. But I think it's important that we continue development. So I'd like to see us table this for tonight and send it back to staff and to come back with what the recommendations are for us to make our changes to the charges. And I think they should probably base it on some of the other charges that are happening in other counties. But I would like to see a recommendation from staff as to what they're recommending that we look at putting our charges to.
Councillor McKeel.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Counselor Wadden. I feel like I'm missing pieces of the puzzle here. I don't think I can make an informed decision tonight. I want to know what other rural municipalities are charging for this. I want to know what staff recommendations are. I want to know what the different prices are and the different implications of that. I just feel in order to make good policy, we need good information, and I just don't think we're there yet. So I would agree that we need to table this tonight. So do we need a motion to table? To defer? So, yes, so Counselor Wadden made a motion for that?
No, she didn't make a motion.
Okay,
Huh?
well,
You said we should table this, but you didn't say I'd like to make a
so,
motion to table
would you
this.
like to make that motion, Counselor Wadden, and I'll second it? Okay,
Before we do that, Councillor McDonald hasn't spoken yet.
yes, we can, yes, so we'll hold on.
I do think there should be one price for everything and a fair price, so we don't lose our shirt every time we put things out. And whatever it is gonna be, it'd be fair for everybody. Like if you're on the right side or the left side of the road, it's gonna be fair for overall. And whatever it is, 5,000, 4,500, whatever, or 6,000, a fair price and one for all. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Watt. Do you want to? Motion to defer. Move and second. Okay, no questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Count by nay, motion carried. God, I hope the next one's not that long. God. 8.2, CBCL Blue Acres Sidewalk Lighting. Logan, would you want to run us through that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on the direction of Municipal Council, we went out to CBCL to review options for lighting and for safety signalization for the Blue Acre Sidewalk project. The consultant completed a study, luminaire study on site, and found that it is in fact poorly lit and inconsistently lit. They came with recommendations that to meet, there are no strict guidelines or strict requirements for lighting that are universally accepted around North America, but they came back with a comparison to best practices, which would suggest that up to 28 light standards be required to meet optimal minimal standards, I guess, or minimal standards, I guess. But recommended also that those be considered with budget considerations and perhaps more modestly approached starting off. They set up to about 30% for consideration. Those could be either light standards that are tied directly to the Nova Scotia Power Grid, or their recommended option, which was solar, which was slightly less expensive, bit of concern around some battery life. And then on the safety side of things, our consultant indicated that rapid flashing beacons that we had requested be considered would not be appropriate for the area. However, we had a meeting last week with the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works area manager, Keith McDonald, who has said that they would consider what we sent them to the traffic control management team in Halifax. So we've sent that off. We're waiting for feedback from them on whether or not that would be considered. Failing that, the consultant presented an extremely low-tech option of crosswalk flags. So all of that's, I guess, open for discussion, and those were the outcomes of the report from our consultant, CBCL.
Gordon Barter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As most people around the table know, I had two major concerns when we started this project. One was the cost, because we couldn't find anybody to share the cost with us. Eventually, the province did come along and agreed to share some of the cost, and the other was the safety at the two crosswalks. So, you know, cost is a problem when you look, and the lighting's going to cost you more than what the crosswalk costs us. is too much. Do we need some lighting? I think you need it in the places where those crosswalks are in particular, but we don't need that whole sidewalk lit up like daylight. There can be a light here and there, but I'm sure what did they have, 20-some, was it, 28 or?
28.
Yeah, I'm sure that half a dozen maybe would do a good job of lighting up the crosswalks and a little at the other end. There's already some lighting there from the highway lights at the bottom of the intersections or whatnot. But I don't buy into those flags being equivalent to the flashing light at all. When I'm driving, whether it's in town here, there are a few of them, and there's certainly some in the city. And as soon as I see those flashing lights, I say, "Whoa, what's going on around me here? What am I not seeing?" And that's the big danger of those two crosswalks. I have been told that it's improved some with the way they shaped it at the East River East Side Road coming out, that it's safer that way. But for the pedestrian crossing, you need good lights so that people can see them at night. But you also need that light in the daytime. That flashing light will attract you in the daytime or the nighttime, as far as I'm concerned. When it's busy and you're watching traffic coming 3-4 different ways, you're waiting for an opportunity to jump in between cars. I just think those safety lights, flashing safety lights, the reasoning that Keith McDonald gave the other day when he met with yourself and Councillor Turner and Councillor Wadden as well, was because there's a stop sign there, that they don't use them where there's a stop sign. Well, the stop sign's good, the traffic stops and then it goes, but in a quick moment, they're looking to see if there's cars coming this way and that way and everything. I don't follow the reasoning that you don't need them because there's a stop sign there. That just doesn't wash with me, I guess. Do we have a costing on the poles, and we could choose how many we wanted. Do we have a costing through you, Mr. Chair? Do we have a costing on the flashing lights at those two intersections?
I believe they're between $5,000 and $10,000. We don't have a hard price on them right now.
Okay. That's just, I may be the only one that feels that way, I don't know, but I feel strongly that I don't want somebody getting hit at those crosswalks because we put them in and people assuming, well, they must be safe. So anything we can do to make them safer is better, but we can't pay more for lights than what we're paying for crosswalks or for sidewalks.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. So in this area, I'm not as concerned about the flashing beacon lights, and we're not going to be able to change traffic science. There's reasons why those beacon lights are not in the standards set out by the Department of Transportation or the traffic authority in this situation. So we're not going to be able to easily change that for this specific spot in Nova Scotia. The lighting, it's dark. And if you talk to women, if you talk to people walking there by themselves at night, they don't feel safe. They do not feel safe. We just talked about human trafficking. We just talked about human trafficking here tonight. We have an a teenager, vulnerable teenagers living on Macbeth Road. And when you see the RCMP reports saying there's a missing teenager from Plymouth, that you'll hear that if you go back in Facebook posts and all that stuff. Every month there's somebody there, and they're just up the road from there. And what's right in the middle of all that is a highway. And these are vulnerable teens that have challenges that they're facing right now. We need to light that place to make it safe. There's ways to do it. I think this report, we should just table it. And I'd have another motion to, I'll move that we table that for information purposes. I think that's way out to lunch. And we should do a request for proposals for lighting firms. There's people out there that do this every day. They do it in private properties, they do it in universities, they light areas. Universities have to have lots of lights. Why? because sadly, there's a lot of sexual assaults on university campuses. So there's experience out there that could solve this problem. We just need to invite those solutions. So I move that we issue a request for proposals to light the sidewalks along that stretch from the bridge there by the Esso all the way up to the exit by the going into the business park. This area, this is a serious problem in this county, and if we can't take a closer look at this, I don't know what else. I'm just gobsmacked. So I make that a motion.
Is moved? I'll second that. Moved and seconded. Okay, did you want to speak up? No? Logan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I would like to point out that the consultant did note that this lighting study was preliminary in nature and that a formal lighting design was recommended as part of this, as part of the recommendations from this report. And when they mentioned the idea around about phasing the actual installation of these lights, they pointed out a recommendation to focus on the areas closest to the McCollumsbrook Road intersection and the East River East Side Road intersection. So I think that that's somewhat in keeping with what Councillor Thompson mentioned there as well. And I should point out as well that the only other recommendation that wasn't mentioned was just to install a couple of crosswalk lights, or crosswalk signs rather, at 2 of the on-ramps. So that's just another minor recommendation that we can act on.
Okay, Councillor McKeel.
Thank you. I would agree that I think I looked at the price of this and I was gobsmacked. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I guess my first question is, how much did the lighting study cost? You have prices on that?
8,000, I think it was.
Okay. I just, did we have to do that study? Or is that just for our own purposes to see what was the point of that study?
It was a request from Municipal Council to look at both lighting, but also the safety aspect as well, the crosswalks. So it was, the purpose was to look at both items and see what, from a lighting perspective, what documented best practices are out there, and what we actually have out there compared to those best practices. And then from the safety perspective, it was to see what the province would or wouldn't allow, and what would be recommended. So it was from a two-pronged approach, I guess, from lighting and from safety.
I feel that this lighting that was sent to us, I mean, $1,000 for a tube with three flags in it. I can't justify this to taxpayers. It doesn't pass the sniff test for me. And I think that, I know that they said that they could start at 30%, part, which is down the McCollumsbrook area. But I would agree with Councillor Thompson. I don't think this is it. I think it's not really, this ain't it. I think that we need to find a cost alternative to this. Yes, light it up. It is very dark in there. It is by a huge highway. There's no other, within the county, there's no other sidewalks like this. And I think that we need to, for multiple reasons, take care of the residents of Pictou County and when they're walking there. But I think that there needs to be a much better cost alternative solution to this than what we were presented this evening. I find it to be very out of touch and not in the interest of the taxpayer. Thank you.
Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Councillor McKeel, though. This is like a ridiculous amount of money to pay to light up we got $500,000 or more into building the sidewalk, and now they want almost $750,000 to light it up. I mean, we gotta find some kind of a better alternative than, that's just way, way too much money, in my opinion, but, maybe there's something better out there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor, just on that. Counselor Thompson, you said up to the business park. I think through the business park committee, we'll look at putting streetlights from the bridge up to that. And then it's only a streetlight from the municipality, right? And that's what's on the opposite side. There's streetlights going up on the opposite side, the Irving side, up past there. If we put streetlights on there, it'd light it up just the same, so. And I went there last night at 10:30 just to look at the situation. And there's power poles handy. Now, it might not be the best solution, but you could put a power pole in every so often and pull the power down, and it'd be the price of a pole from Nova Scotia Power and plus whatever it costs for us to put the street light up. It might not be the best looking thing, but it is an option. And I found from the bridge to McCollumsbrook Road was not bad. There is a light right there at the corner, and it does show up, and there's two people walking when I was there at night. The only place that kind of was under the bridge. That's probably the biggest issue. But I think there's other solutions out there instead of this kind of solution. 28 lights is a lot of lights, but it should be lit up, but I think this is the right way to go. Put an RFP just to see what the solutions are, and then we'll make a decision from there. So we have money available for this under the. Do we? We have. No, I know, but we got money available, right? So.
We have 515 from the province, so it's double.
Yeah.
So it's $1,030,000 is total costs, and it was 8 something for the sidewalk, 890.
So whatever's remaining there is.
Yeah, so it's basically, when I applied for the grant, I put $150,000 contingency in.
There we go.
That's what it was.
Okay, Councilor Bowles.
I just want to say that there's something wrong with our whole system here. I thought we had a clock for people, how long they had to call. I thought somebody talking from the chair is supposed to get out of the chair and let their co-chair take over. I mean, we got people talking here, watching the clock. It's ridiculous. We had a thing, we got paid to get a clock in here, so you'd have so much time to talk, but it's just one after the other, and 3 and 4 times talking on it, and you're only supposed to have 2, unless you're the mover. I don't know, are we gonna make rules that we're gonna follow, or is it just something?
No,
to
you're right.
laugh at?
We'll make the rules, and we'll follow those rules, and it applies to you also, so.
Imagine
But,
apply to me. I never asked for anything, so we can, anything different.
No, we'll follow those rules, so. Okay, is there anybody else? Hearing none, we'll make a call for the vote. All those,
Say the motion again.
motion is to do an RFP for lighting from the bridge in Stoughton to McCollumsbrook Bridge. Okay? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Count on my nay. Nay. 1 nay, motion carried. Okay, is there any deferred business? Motions of free consideration. Community announcements. That'd be a community announcement. Counselor Dorr.
It's getting near the Kaylee time in Hopewell. It'll be the 10th of August, and it's just unreal, the work that's been done there in the last year. Really, the new committee really's done a lot, and they're working hard to make it a success, so I'm going to mention it tonight, and I'm going to mention it at the next meeting. So anyway, it's the highlight of, really, it's comparable. It doesn't take as long, but it's comparable to the East Pictou Fair. It's something that the people in that area support and come out to. And all we need, and anything that's outside, what we need is good weather. So anyway, I'll
What's
have
the
more.
dates again?
The 10th of August.
10th of
And,
August.
and I'll likely have a flyer or something to stick up for the next meeting. Thank you very much.
Okay, Deputy Warden?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wednesday, the 30th of this month, the Scotchman Pork Chop Barbecue will be held from 4 to 7. Pre-sold tickets only, so you can go online and buy our tickets, or you can buy them from A&M Small Engines. And you can get your tickets and you can stay around the pond. There will be tables set up this year, more, and sit there and have a chat with your neighbors or wherever. And one other thing is that I was talking to Alan Fraser. He owns the Walk in Time Museum in Scottsburn. It's the old co-op building. And he'd like council members and staff or whatever to come and visit at some point. He said he would set up a time like in an evening if you wanted. He's open on the weekends, but and through the day, through the week. But he said he would have a special opening up for us if we would like to come and see it. He would like to see it because he doesn't think too many councillors around the table were there, and would like to see what he has. He has it's a big museum, actually, a lot of stuff there, so we could promote his business when we're talking to people. And he built this on his own. There was no government money whatsoever from anybody in it, so him and his wife are in it. So if anybody's interested, if we could show hands or something, then we can set a date up or something like that. It's $10 to get in for the thing, so
So,
I just wanted to
have we
put
got
that out
interest?
there.
I can watch it, yeah.
Okay, so would you prefer an evening? An evening best, like 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock?
Yeah, after supper sometime.
Okay, I'll set it up then, and I'll send you all an email.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor McDonald.
I don't know much about this, but there's a virtual midsummer art soiree to benefit the youth lead programs for arts. Starts tomorrow night at 7 p.m. It's on Zoom. It's a fundraiser and a store prizes and all that stuff. Information, you can info at youthleaddarts.com. That's all I know with that. And there's a August 9th, there's a Miramichi Fun Fest at the Miramichi Community Center. Thank you.
Okay. Warden Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to congratulate the team at SARA, the Salem Area Recreation Association. They had a perfect weather-wise there. You should get them to order your weather for you, Chester. It was just perfect yesterday. It wasn't too hot. It wasn't too cold. There wasn't any rain. A little bit of threatening rain, but it didn't come. And they had a really good crowd and silent auction, all kinds of things. And I think they probably cleared close to $3,000. So they're pretty happy. And people are happy too. We stated here before, we just need to get people out of their homes and out to something going on. I know there's a lot of things going on across our county, which is good. I had a text from somebody the other day about the Terry Fox Run is coming up again in September. You'll hear from me on that for sure. But they said there's only 2 runs left in Pictou County, the one in Pictou, and I believe there's one in Bridgeville. I'm not sure, but I think it's Bridgeville. And so they're trying to get more participation. It's been 45 years. It's 45 years since Terry Fox tried to run across our country. So they suggested that rather than try to have more runs, because it takes a lot of work to organize these and a lot of volunteer hours, that in different communities they could have teams. And those teams could come to Pictou, nice flat surface in there, and do the run on the Jitney Trail, but have different communities, like I say, rather than have their own run, just have a team from their community. And so I said I would mention it here tonight. If anybody knows anybody who perhaps was involved in the past, but now there's no run in their area. The other thing I wanted to mention, been bothering me a little lately when I come into the office here for meetings. So we have a young lady down the hallway here that sits there all day long for Coastal, which I think was called Dean's at one time, but I think it's the same organization. But I can't understand why we don't have something to help pull people in here for her. Most times she's sitting there just twiddling her thumbs because you got nothing else to do. But here, you know, how would you know, other than I guess online somehow? There's nothing at the end of our driveway here that says there's tourist information down here. Used to be a big sign at that building, it was over there, Tourist Information Center, you knew where to go. But she's sitting here, would love to have some visitors, I'm sure, but has nothing to do. And yet we have a sign up at the end that says our administration building's here, but I know it's not on us to do that, but I hope the message will get through to somebody at Coastal that, you know, they could try to give that poor girl something to do, and, you know, the least would be to have a sign up there, I would hope. But anyway, I just wanted to mention it because I feel sorry for her every time I come in, you know, sitting there with nobody knowing she's here other than online, I guess. I'm not on there, so.
She does get a lot of traffic.
Oh, she does, just not when I'm here, I guess.
I'm on the front of the building, and I do
Okay.
see a lot of traffic
Okay, I
coming
could be
in.
wrong there, because every time I go in there, I don't see him in there.
Just on that, I'll speak to the signage. So it's been over 2 years that it went to the Department of Public Works to have the signage up. So it has to go through the signage department up in Halifax. The guy that used to be in charge of that wasn't very good at his job. And he's gone now, so. How's that? Huh? After 55 years. 55 years, and he was no good to begin with, so. Anyway,
So there is an application in for a sign.
there's been an application in for down here, and for up the wellness center, and for, but it all goes through the public works, so it's not something that you can put up yourself, so.
And they say there's lots of customers anyway, so maybe I'm just hitting the wrong time.
Okay, Councilor Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to speak to Councilor Murray's information there about the museum at Scottsburn that Alan Fraser runs. A&M Small Engines is his business. It's right opposite where Wayne used to have his garage one time, but it's the old co-op building. I've been through it. It's fantastic. It's just got everything in it you can think of. He spent years collecting all that, putting it together, and it's just, anybody goes through that will certainly enjoy it. $10 gets you in for the year. You can go once, you can go 12 times if you want, but it'll get you in there.
Yeah.
And it's just, he's got a really good museum there, so I would encourage everybody around the table to go to it. You'll enjoy it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, anything else? Anything further? Seeing none, meeting adjourned.
Away we go.
All right. What does it?
Enjoy your week.